hear this all the time. People say, gosh, if back in the day, if only one person had the courage to stop Hitler, to take him out before he rose to power, then we would have saved millions of lives. Well, this is what they're essentially, this is a message
they're inviting violence. Tulsi, you're saying they're inviting someone to take a shot at Trump.
This is what is so dangerous, is they're sending a message to a rogue actor, a lone wolf, saying, hey, we need someone to save our country from this modern day Hitler-like person.
That is Tulsi Gabbard saying that if you are saying that Donald Trump is a massive threat to American democracy, our way of life, our functioning government, that you are calling for assassination. That's what they are doing. They're specifically there on Fox News referring to an op-ed by Robert Kagan talking about the dangers of a second Trump administration, which is not just hyperbole. It's referencing specific things that Donald Trump has said and promised to do. His incredibly violent rhetoric, which we're going to jump into. You know, actually, I'm just going to jump ahead of that right now, because what I found interesting is that Donald Trump, who is very specifically calling his political opponents vermin, who he will root out. Weirdly enough, Fox News didn't think that that was worthy of talking about. If you say Trump is dangerous, that's a call for assassination. If you say you're going to root out the vermin, they only mentioned it 9 times over the course of their 24-hour-a-day news cycle over multiple days. And, you know, the weird thing too is, you know, I'm not just going to criticize Fox. Tulsi Gabbard is really worried about this. Oddly enough, on her Twitter account, she didn't think it was worth mentioning. How weird. But anyway, you see, Francesca, the point that she's making, people used to say if only someone had done something and stopped Hitler. Well, that's what they're doing here, except notably, they're not saying that. Who has said if only one person would stop Trump? They're not saying that. They're saying he is a threat to democracy, which seems like it has some evidence because he's the guy who tried to do a coup on our government. He's the guy who's been spreading the big lie for literally years. So it is just such an intellectually dishonest, cowardly way to bow down to the right-wing audience that she's trying in a continued way to endear herself over the past few years by openly lying about what those on our side, even the wider our side, I'm not even talking about leftists. I'm talking like MSNBC is saying that Trump is dangerous. They're not calling for assassination. If you do want to find and then critique that sort of language, there's a lot of it to go around in American politics these days, but it ain't coming for our side of the aisle. Francesca, what do you think?
Wildest thing about what Tulsi Gabbard just said is that in her analogy, Trump is Hitler and he should be defended. Like, do you know what I'm saying? She's saying, yeah, this is the same exercise that we all say, which is, hey, if only someone got to Hitler. And it's like, yeah, if only someone had got to Hitler. That's a legitimate moral question given the Holocaust, which I assume Fox News viewers believe happened, right? But no, in this case, Hitler is the hero, the person we're supposed to protect, just like Donald Trump. I can't believe they're saying the same thing. Like what? She's based. What do you mean? Pick anybody else. Come on, you love to tap the MLK tree. Shake that tree. You know, defame his legacy. But no, mask off. They're basically saying, yeah, our, next God, Emperor, King, our Caesar, who if he wins again or doesn't win again, takes power again, will be a new dictator. He's just like Hitler. He's just as embattled as Hitler was. Like, oh, okay, they just said it.
It's a weird direction.
He said it.
Say that. Yeah, and I love that. Like, we will tell you what he has actually said that is encouraging violence. Or if you don't care that we're telling you that, you could read some of the manifestos that cite him, because they sure seem to think that he was encouraging violence. Whereas she just makes up, hey, remember, 70 years ago, 80 years ago, when other people said something that they're not saying now? Well, what if they did? Wouldn't that be bad? Yeah, but they're not. That's not actually what they're saying. And all of this, again, is in pursuit of getting the right to love her. I mean, it would be one thing if she had the actual brand that she wants you to believe she has, which is that she is an outsider who is freed up from the Democratic leadership to criticize everyone. Mm-hmm. But that's not what she does. She cannot criticize even the worst excesses of the right, of conservatives, of the Republican Party. And it's not difficult to figure out why, because she would not be invited on Laura Ingraham's show if she did that. If she was an actual independent who criticized the Democrats and the Republicans, Nancy Pelosi, but Donald Trump too, they're all bad, they're all corrupt, they're all deserving of criticism. But oddly enough, you can't seem to bring yourself to do it. And it's this weird, like, archetype now that she's a great example of. It's very see-through. There's other people like Glenn Greenwald, like people who,
yeah.
And it would be one thing if they were just trying to do that. But it's so weird that some people who liked them back when they weren't doing this grift still insist on pretending that they're the people that they were before. And I don't understand that. I don't understand the weird brand loyalty to people who are running one of the most transparent grifts that I can imagine.
To be fair, I think most of the Tulsi stands have, I mean, I've gotten $1. Again, if you were a Tulsi fan and I told you from way back when, TBR-Live is my Venmo, TBR Live on Cash App, I'll take $1 from you. And I have gotten, I think about $5 at this point, from the former Tulsi stands. So look, say what you will about them. Some of them have come around and seen the error of their ways.
Good. That is good to hear. That is good to hear. We're just going to get a little bit more from Laura Ingraham that led to this conversation. Let's look at this.
A Trump dictatorship is increasingly inevitable. It will be filled with people who will not need explicit instruction from Trump any more than Hitler's local Gaultiers needed instruction. In such circumstances, people work toward the Führer, which is to say, they anticipate his desires and seek favor through acts they think will make him happy.
As a person who has on camera in front of thousands of people mispronounce words, I don't think that she nailed that. But anyway, is that possibly hyperbolic? Is that possibly too much? Could you make the same sort of argument without invoking Nazism? All of these are perfectly fine things to talk about. But to say that if you say he's an authoritarian, if you say he's an extremist, if you say he doesn't respect the Constitution, the guy who tried to overturn the results of an election, then you're calling for an assassination is not just craven and dishonest, but it is providing cover through both sidesing for the people who are actually calling and advocating for and defending and apologizing for political violence. So when you have an actual person actually saying things like Donald Trump, who told his mob, we're going to walk down to the Capitol, you'll never take back our country with weakness. Or the looting, when the looting starts, the shooting starts. Or to my right wing, like Proud Boys, stand back and stand by. And when you're arresting the protesters, don't be too nice. And if you rough them up, I'll pay your legal bills. And all of this stuff, I feel like if you want to say that both sides are the same, if you want to do that because that's your grift or whatever, at least quote someone, not someone from the 50s or whatever. Quote someone now who's actually doing this. Any final thoughts before we move on to other material?
No, you said it. What needed to be said.
It's so see-through. It's so craven. And I'm sure that she has a very lucrative contract with Fox News, but goddamn, she wanted to be the Democratic nominee for president at one point.